Cari Champion has stayed true to her name, working her way up as a sports journalist to become a household name on ESPN, and now hosts her own Amazon talk show. Despite her constant hustle, she's still passionate about young girls finding their place in the world. Let's learn more. Sports anchor, journalist, and multimedia influencer Cari Champion has become a shining superstar of information and enlightenment. Her combination of hard-hitting news expertise, engaging personality, and candid conversational style is shaking up the medium and has her rolling with the pro sports elite. Cari's championship season started in sunny SoCal.
Growing up in Los Angeles was very interesting, especially for someone who was arguably an adult at the age of 7. Elementary for me felt very much like a job. My mother wanted me to have a better public school education, single parent. She worked all the time, but she figured out a way in which I could go to a school that was about 45 minutes outside of our neighborhood, get me out of the hood, if you will. And I would have to get up in the morning, say 5 a.m., dress myself, and then walk to the bus stop. And the bus would pick me up, and it'd be a 45-minute ride to the valley. When you take a kid and you bus them to a neighborhood that they're not familiar with kids who don't look like them, not on purpose, but you eventually develop a complex of perhaps they are better. The neighborhood is better. Things are better. And I wanted to be better. I wanted to be just as smart. I wanted to appear to have the same things because that's what I thought was good at the time as a little kid. I remember taking a reading class and my teacher saying, oh, you come from this certain neighborhood, you can only qualify for this level of education in terms of the reading class you should be in. And I really took that as a challenge.
That challenge to be better took her from Pasadena to UCLA, following in the footsteps of another sports trailblazer, Jackie Robinson.
UCLA made the most sense. When I tell you I was, at the time, a certified Cali girl through and through, but the transition from going to a high school where I was very popular and everybody knew me to college was hard because I learned some tough lessons. I wasn't that popular. I wasn't that cool, especially if you didn't play sports, which I didn't play in college. And so that transition was tough. I mean, it was a learning lesson. And thank goodness I was close to home. But I do remember going onto the campus and getting lost and feeling like, where do I fit in? How do I make myself stand out? And the beauty of going to UCLA was that I used to get to see all the Lakers. They used to come on campus and they used to have practice at Poly Pavilion. And that kind of helped me settle into, oh, this is home. This does feel familiar to me. When I graduated from UCLA, I didn't get a job right away. I had made a resume reel, what you call a resume reel today, but it was on a VHS tape. I'd take these little odd jobs here and there. Like I worked locally at assignment newsrooms in their assignment desk where we would assign different reporters different stories to go out and cover. I had no idea what I was doing. I was in the number 2 market, which is LA, and I was telling these adults where they should go cover the stories. And now I think about it, they really resented me, and I'm sure that they knew. I would ask them if I could go out with them and shoot. And I did that a few times, enough for me to get a resume reel to send out to all these little small markets and hope that they would hire me. And I sent out my very last reel, and that was to West Virginia. And they called me back and they were like, hey, in short, they needed a black reporter. And can you start next week? And there is no compensation to move here. You just got to get here on your own. We can give you $200 to go towards your apartment, and it's a one-man band job. So are you ready? And I was like, of course. I hopped in my Nissan Altima, never forget it, drove 5 days cross country, and I thought it was all fun and exhilarating and new, and I loved it. And maybe 3 weeks into this one-man band job, I'd show up, I'd carry the tripod and the camera, I'd have a backpack on that had my microphone, and 20 minutes of setup. There was a bank collapse in a really small town in West Virginia. It was 3 hours away. And when I did this one story about this bank collapse, and I got to interview people who were very upset and they had no idea what was going to happen next. And I got to really connect and talk to people and ask questions, and the questions became a conversation. I remember coming home and calling my mom and being like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
Hustling hard news gigs around the country led to a freelance reporter shot on the Tennis Channel, which ended up being a game changer.
I remember covering the U.S. Open while I was at the Tennis Channel, and I stumbled into some producers that were at ESPN covering the U.S. Open, and then in my mind I just said I should work there if I really want to do sports full time. I got a name of someone, and I just would send him my resume reel, and then I said, Jerry, I'm going to be in Connecticut, so maybe I can meet you. No one's ever just in Connecticut, especially Bristol. And so he said, sure, come on by. And he didn't realize that I was coming from California. And so I went and I sat in the lobby, and he gave me, a good 15, 20 minutes. 6 months later, he called me. He said, hey, are you interested in still working here? And I'm all like, of course. He goes, well, do you mind coming in and meeting Skip and Stephen A? I said, for first take? And he said, well, we're just moving things around. I'm such a novice. I didn't know anything about the business. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
What Cari was getting into was an opportunity of a lifetime, which we'll explore after the break. Cari Champion is a true MVQ, most valued queen. We'll be right back with more of her story and more mentoring queens. This segment of Mentoring Queens is presented by P&G. Cari Champion is a team player on and behind the camera. Here's the second half of her championship game. The dynamic career of Cari Champion came to a head when she went head-to-head with the dynamic duo of sports debate, Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless of First Take.
Skip and Stephen A. sitting next to me, and I remember Skip saying, listen, we're auditioning people, but this is nothing like the real show. One thing that I am comfortable with is reading a prompter and ad-libbing and talking. And I think they were surprised. Not only is she comfortable, she's a black woman sitting in here like I belong, because I did. It was a lot. What was a lot was that I went from essentially not being known to being known. Twitter was a new thing, and they were First Take followers, God bless them, they're very aggressive. And whenever I made a mistake, they didn't like anything I wore, if they thought I was ridiculous, I heard about it. It made me really uncomfortable. It took me out of my comfort zone in so many ways. Like 6 months in, I was like, this is not for me. This is hard work. And to Skip and Stephen A.'s credit, they weren't going to babysit me. And at the time, it wasn't just First Take. It was all across ESPN. There were just very few female voices that could weigh in on these very controversial topics, which to me, now that you think about it, sounds ridiculous. There was Jamel Hill that could talk about it, and I think just her at the time. There were no other voices. Sports Center, you were just delivering the facts. You weren't giving opinions. And here we are on this debate show, and it is, it's prime time. It's a huge show, and you just skip over the one in the middle, and it just didn't make sense. And so once I realized that I wanted to use my voice as, in a way that was going to be for better and for good, and to represent brown and black women, and women in general, I knew that it was time for me to look for other challenges.
Cari started making moves, from finally getting to anchor the network's signature Sports Center to hosting her own Vice series, Stick to Sports, with bestie Jamil Hill, all while realizing that she could no longer settle for a sports media landscape that insisted on shutting up and talking about dribbling.
And so I said to myself, I have to make a huge jump. I have to determine, is it important to be famous on a huge platform, or is it important for me to tell the stories that matter and do what I feel like I was born to do, give a voice to those who have none? And I decided to leave And it was scary. I did it scared. That's the best advice that I can give anybody. Do it scared. And so the opportunity presented itself with Amazon to do a Monday through Friday show on their new sports network called Sports Talk. I did what I knew was true and authentic. And I think the value in being authentic is so underrated because there's this pressure to be famous, to be viral, to say things that people care about, to get off your hot takes. And that was never my issue. That was never my concern. And at the end of the day, the reward was my voice was valued.
Being true to yourself and putting in the hard work is Cari's game plan for success.
This generation expecting it right now and wanting it right now and demanding it right now. I don't have a lot of respect for that, but I also don't want to take away from the fact that I think this generation is bold, and I think that they are very entrepreneurial. They are creative, and they are asking the questions that I think I was afraid to ask. And so I don't begrudge them in that sense. Stop comparing yourself to the lives you think that are being lived, and that is the quickest way to be unhappy. The thief of all of joy is comparing yourself to someone else. And so my advice would always be, if you take a moment to step off of Instagram or Twitter or TikTok and stop comparing yourself to the lives you think that are being lived, whatever your reasonings for being a journalist, for being a host, for being in sports, for being on television, whatever that is, there's a reason. Someone ignited that for you. And that's what I would hope that this generation would get. If you're in this business and you want to do what I do, you don't look at it like, okay, I only have this much time to make this much money to be that successful.
Words she encourages others to live by through the efforts of her Brown Girls Dream Foundation.
Brown Girls Dream is a foundation that I created in 2017 and going into 2018. And it basically was a place for Black and brown girls to talk to me about what I do for a living and get advice. And the hope would be for me to connect these young ladies with people who could help them pursue their dreams personally and professionally. And the purpose of this foundation was simply started as a bunch of women young ladies in college, out of college, would always email me like, I want to do what you do. And I felt it was so overwhelming because I could not respond to all of the emails, but it also made me feel like I should create a safe space for these young ladies. And it's only dedicated to that. There is no like we're making money off of this program. It is truly blood, sweat, tears, sweat equity. I've asked all my really good girlfriends who are uberly successful to mentor a lady for a season. And a season could be a year, it could be 7 months. And it's very informal. And the reason why it's informal is because we tell it like TI is. Like if you want your hand to be held, don't come here. If you want to not appreciate my time, you can't be a part of the program. If you don't want the truth, you should not be here, you know? And then I have these really wonderful moments where some of these young ladies, they are the brightest that I've ever seen. At 25 and 24 years old, they have their act together. They were not doing what I was doing at 24 years old, and I'm impressed. And what they do in turn is inspire me. I want to look into building projects that amplify voices of brown and Black women in other fields, like in the banking industry. I'm working on a project with JP Chase right now, and I'm like, I like this. I want to do this. I want to listen, I can spend some money, and now I want to know how to invest it and use that investment to pay back other communities and other cultures. I think that the television show that I have now currently will be put on a larger platform. And again, using my voice for the work that needs to be done.
Cari Champion, putting in the work that needs to be done for herself and to be a champion of young women everywhere. Cari Champion's work as a journalist, philanthropist, and role model for young women everywhere is clearly a mentoring slam dunk.